be able to change the way we feel. That's what I spend my life showing people how to do. And what most people don't know is emotion is created by motion. The way you move determines the way you feel. You have 80 different muscles in your face, 80. For most people, this is the largest area of unemployment in the country. They use the face the same way, they feel the same emotions over and over and over again. So what I was saying is, I have this deal with myself called priming. Every day, I say, look, you gotta have 10 minutes for yourself. If you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, you don't have a life. And I'm not gonna hope I feel good. I just got back 6 countries in 12 days. I was in India 2 days ago.
Wow.
And I woke up here feeling like somebody ran me over with a truck.
But you got yourself psyched up.
But the way I did it is I do this process, and it's 10 minutes, I put some music on, I do this massive change in my breathing, so it radically changes the way I feel. And then I do this 3-step process. First, I do 3 minutes of gratitude where I think of 3 things I'm really grateful for, and I associate, I don't think of it over there, I feel it. And the reason is, when you're grateful, you can't be worried. You can't be fearful. When you're grateful, you can't be angry. And anger and fear are what screw people up most in their relationships, in their life, in their business. So I wire myself. I was saying to you that most people want to be happy, but their habit is to be worried or pissed off or frustrated or stressed. And so they've got a highway to stress and they got a dirt road to happiness. So I wire myself. I've got a highway to gratitude, which changes all your emotions. And then I do a 3-minute process of kind of a prayer for my family and friends. And then I do a 3-minute process of the top 3 things I want to accomplish. I see it as done and I feel it. I'm done in 10 minutes. So sometimes I go 20, but my deal is 10, so there's no excuse not to do it. Life has no meaning. It scared the hell out of me, and I developed tools, and I've never gone back there. I mean, have I gotten pissed or angry? Of course. People still think, you're not happy all the time. Are you? No, I'm not happy all the time. But I'm happy the vast majority of the time because I'm doing what I love, with who I love, and there's a meaning in what I do. When you have those 3 things, life is pretty magnificent.
Beast. The lion is wired differently. The lion is wired differently. All right, E.T., what do you mean the lion is wired differently? So, somebody said to me, he didn't know any better, we were at the table, and one of my staff members, they got an espresso, and the guy was looking at me like, do you want an espresso? They were like, oh, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. He's like, what's wrong? It's like, E.T. has never had espresso. E.T. has never had coffee. Why? They said, you know what it would be like E.T.'s coffee. Like, just imagine, E.T. right here. I'm 43, I've never had coffee a day in my life. I've never had an espresso. I've never had like an energy drink or Red Bull or the 5-hour whatever. E.T., what do you mean you never had coffee and you're that hype? How is it possible? I'm wired differently. I don't need coffee. I look at my wife every single day and I said, I gotta grind. I gotta grind for my wife. And guess what happened? Most of you know the story. My wife was diagnosed last year. They found 7 lesions on her brain. She can't work anymore. I'm so grateful. My wife will tell you she can't work anymore. Only 12 hours a week. She can't work. She doesn't have the energy. She says, I'm so grateful. My girlfriend has the same disease and she has to work 40 hours. Why? Because her husband ain't beast mode. I'm beast mode, sweetheart. You don't have to work. As a matter of fact, come work for me and I'll pay you more than you were making at your job. Beast mode. What happens? What happens? Oh, I wake up every day. You say, what do you mean, E.T.? Before my wife got sick, I said to myself, what if my wife gets sick? Beast mode, I'm wired differently. Some of you wait for a tragedy to happen. You don't think about it. You don't forecast. Listen to me very closely. You got to understand something. We don't need an electric toothbrush. Somebody forecast it. We don't need a razor like this for African American men. Somebody forecast it. And the difference between beast and average people is that average people live from check to check. Average people don't think about their future. They're consumed with the present. Average people don't think about leaving Detroit, Michigan and speaking in Australia and England and South America. Average people think about speaking in their local neighborhoods. Beast mode. Beast mode. My son was born, I'm like, he's gonna go to college. When he goes to college, guess what? I don't want him to have to take out a loan. So my son went through his first year this year. He called it freshman year. I paid for it in cash. There was 2 classes he had to take over because he didn't score high enough. I said, don't let it happen again, but I paid for it in cash. Beast mode. Gave my son an opportunity. Most kids where I come from, they never get to go to college, not because they're smart enough, their parents don't have money. My son made an error, and I was able to pay for the error, pretend like it didn't happen. Take the class one more time. This time you better be better.
Is there a purpose to our life? And well, that's a hard question. And then if there is a purpose, well, how is it expressed? And then if there is a purpose and our lives are truncated as they are by death, then how can that purpose have significance? And those are hard questions, but Socrates' experience seemed to be that he had lived enough in his life so that when push came to shove, which it certainly did, he was able to gracefully let it go. And you know, he attested to that with his death. And that's fairly convincing, you know, I mean, that's a fairly convincing argument. And it's one that I find, well, it's hard to tell if I find it exactly credible, but I don't find it incredible. I mean, I certainly have noticed that as I've got older and have done things, various, what would you say, accomplished isn't exactly the right word. I've participated in many things that I'm pleased to have participated in them, but wouldn't necessarily go back and participate in them again. It's sort of as if when you do something and you finish it, it's as if it's done. You don't have to do it again. And maybe it's possible, who knows, that if you finish your life, whatever that might mean, if you exhaust your life, then that's enough life, you know, that you've had enough. And I mean, that doesn't mean that I try not to keep myself healthy and that I want to die tomorrow. It doesn't mean any of that. I'm trying to stick around as long as I can, but there's still that curiosity about the relationship between life and mortality, and the possibility that a life well lived exhausts itself in some fundamental sense, so that you can be satisfied, let's say, with what you were. There is some psychological evidence that bears on this. If you ask people what they regret, especially as they get older, what they generally report is things not done. So they don't regret so much mistakes they've made, although of course people obviously regret mistakes they've made as well.